Hi, I'm Charlotte Lingard-Young, and I'm going to be interviewing Lauren Young. And if we look a little bit alike, it's because we are mother-daughter.
Yeah, that's Mama.
Great. So Lauren is a 2011 graduate of Florida State University. She's currently
2015.
in New York. I'm sorry, 20. Did I get it right?
2015. I graduated high school in 2011.
I'm taking high school. So yeah, 2015 graduate of Florida State. And she's currently in New York working on working on a contract with the Drug Enforcement Administration. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So because of the nature of her job, we're not going to go into a great bit of detail on what she does, but we're going to hit on it, and so she can tell you a little bit about what the company does. And but we're going to focus mostly on her chemistry degree. She has a chemical science degree and a minor in biology and Spanish.
Yes.
Okay, so we're just going to jump right in there and get started. Okay,
Great.
So Lauren, the audience here are young, preteen, teen young ladies.
All right.
Some of them may be, interested in pursuing a degree in one of the STEM categories. So I know that you took a lot of classes in high school that were geared towards that were pretty hard. So for someone looking to take a course in one of those, get a degree in one of those STEM classes in high school, what are some of the courses you think they should be taking right now?
Well, the first thing that I would say is definitely lay the groundwork. I think a lot of people don't realize that science is rooted in a lot of math, and I think that it makes it a lot harder for you to really get to the nitty-gritty of science without a really good foundation of math. So I would definitely say focus on math, and depending on what grade you're in, I took geometry, pre-algebra, took algebra 1, algebra 2, pre-calculus. Pre-calculus is extremely important. It's a challenge. I won't sugarcoat it, but it's so important because a lot of what you do when you get to especially chemistry, you really do need to know how to do more complex mathematics, because a lot of the times in chemistry, what you're doing is you're working with you're trying to identify unknown substances. Mm-hmm. So algebra actually also is really important too, because when you solve for X, what is that? You're solving for an unknown. So definitely make sure you're taking all of the math courses that are required of you, your algebra 1, algebra 2, pre-calculus, geometry, trigonometry. In terms of the actual sciences, you'll want to take chemistry. A lot of schools do like a chemistry 1 and 2. I'm not sure how things are going with curriculum now, but they do that. Biology is also really helpful. Let's see. I would say those are really helpful. And the other thing that I think kind of gets looked over, I know for me, I didn't actually end up taking this class in high school before I got my degree, but physics. Physics is also really important. And I know at the high school level, they offer it as an AP course as well. So if you can do anything that you can do to kind of get yourself ahead by the time you get to college, if you're looking to do that, is definitely going to be a huge help to you, especially because I actually find that a lot of the coursework, especially in AP courses, are actually a little bit more challenging than what you experience in college. So definitely if you're in high school and you're thinking about taking anything in, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, you'll definitely want to see if they have like an IB or an AP program in those, because they really, really help get you prepared for the collegiate level if you decide to pursue that after high school and getting your degree.
Yeah, you mentioned a few times about them being difficult, I think.
Yes.
At the high school level, they're difficult, and I can
Yeah.
only imagine that at the college level, they're difficult.
Right.
So why don't you tell them a little bit about, so we don't scare them,
Yes.
the options that are available for them to seek help?
Right. So there are actually a ton of resources, especially when you get to those really technical courses, math, your science, engineering, because they can be a real challenge. If you are in an environment or in a school system that has resources for tutoring, a lot of schools will have free tutoring available. If not, your guidance counselor or maybe some of your teachers can actually point you in the direction of students that will be willing to help tutor you after school or maybe in between classes. I know for me, I did take advantage of really just talking one-on-one with my teachers. Your teachers are going to be your biggest assets because they're the ones that have the material that you're going to be learning. They're the ones that create the curriculum for you, and they're the ones that can kind of help guide you. They're there to help you. And I think that teachers are a really underutilized resource. As much hard work as they put in,
Right.
you might see them, during your class, 2 or 3 times a week, or, depending on what your school schedule looks like. But if, they're saying to you, if you need anything from me, definitely take advantage of that. And that's something that'll continue on whether you decide to, complete your career in high school, or if you decide to maybe go to like a technical trade, or if you decide to pursue at a university or, community college. Your teacher, your instructor is there to be an asset and a resource to you. And
And
they would point you in the right direction. Yeah.
And they typically have office hours too that you can
Absolutely.
schedule and
Yeah,
go.
absolutely. Right, because teachers, just like in college, teachers at the high school level are not teaching every single class period, right? So a lot of them really are willing to work with you if you're expressing a need for help. And I actually say that in any course, and this is whether you're doing science, math, English, art, whatever it is, ask questions. The only way that you're going to know, what you don't know is, just to ask, absorb as much as you can while you're in class. And if something doesn't make sense to you, do not be afraid to ask questions. I know, especially when you're that age, it's really, it can be kind of uncomfortable, saying, this doesn't make sense to me. You might be thinking, your classmates are thinking, oh, this kid right here, like, why, like, how don't you get it? But odds are you're not the only one in there that does not understand some of that material. It's a challenge. I mean, it's not like it's, something that's just snap, you just get it. Some people are very gifted that way.
You're not supposed to know it. You're there to learn.
You're not supposed to know it. That's why you're being taught, so
and
definitely.
more than likely, if you don't understand it, there's someone else in the class that doesn't understand it. So don't be afraid or embarrassed to lift your hand and ask that question.
And that's honestly, I think, for me, the easiest way to learn, because teachers actually really enjoy it when you ask the questions, because then it gives them an opportunity to kind of give you and offer real life, applications of where you might see this, out and about. It's hard sometimes to kind of stick to the book. Sometimes the book is a little bit rigid. And if you provide that opportunity by asking, a question about, hey, this doesn't make sense to me. Why would we do this? Or, where would I see this in this situation? It gives them an opportunity to kind of let you into their mind and, how things work in the world.
Clarify everything.
Clarifies and, it gives a window into experience that I think you can't always get from just a textbook.
Right. So you mentioned something there that led to one of the questions I was going to ask you later. In high school or junior high, you can't imagine what it's like going to college. What it's like in college. They haven't been there, and it's different. So explain to them what a typical day looks like in college, the classes, because you're not, even though you're changing classes in high school, it's different in college. So kind of give them an idea what it's like.
It is a lot different. And for me, I think it's a good different because you work similar to, high school. You kind of work with your guidance counselor, or you're at this point in college, an academic advisor maybe, to kind of help you craft your schedule first, especially since when you first get there, like your first freshman year, because, it's all new to you. So they're there to help kind of structure your schedule. So the nice thing about that is, yes, you may have, certain milestones that you need to make in each year, but you can pick the time of this class. Like if you know that you're not a morning person, I'm not a morning person, but if you know that, you're better focused in the morning, you can pick earlier classes. And for me, what was really nice was I realized after a bit that I just liked to be on campus and work while I was on campus. And then when I got home, I just kind of wanted to not have to worry about homework or projects or assignments. So what I would do is I would actually schedule my classes with enough time for me to be able to go to the library in between classes and work on my assignments in between classes. And then by the time I was done with that assignment, it'd be on to my next class, and so on and so forth. And then a lot of times I was never this lucky, but some people I knew were able to schedule their coursework to where they didn't have any classes on Fridays, right? So
I was never that lucky.
Yeah, I was never that lucky either, but some people are.
Christian was.
Yes, my younger brother was very lucky that way. So I think it's really nice that you can kind of craft your own schedule. And I think you're a little bit more invested in it at that point because, now you've chosen to be at this university, and you can also pick all types of other fun classes, which is definitely a big piece of advice I will give to you. Side note, especially if you are pursuing or interested in pursuing a degree in really anything, but especially one of these courses like chemistry, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Do something fun that's totally different.
College is something. You mentioned that because I was going to. That's something I was going to ask you a little bit later. So, explain to them. I want you to give them an idea of some of the classes that you took in your degree of chemical science.
Right.
And then some of the other classes that you took for fun to kind of balance a lot, because it is a balance. When you go to college, the goal is there to get your degree, so you're there to learn, but it's a lot of hard work. So you also want to have some fun. And ladies, let me tell you, this one is so, oh my gosh, I had to tell her freshman year, go to a party. That's something you never think that you would tell your child to do. But she was like, oh, I got this to do. On Friday night, I'm calling her and she's at home. She's in her dorm doing this. And I got this to do and I got this to do. I was like, isn't there a party you can go to? Oh my gosh, go to a party. All right.
Yeah, but it's true.
Yeah. But give them an idea of what some of the classes that you took, because your freshman and sophomore year, you're taking basic courses that all the other freshmen and sophomore are taking too, but
right.
When you come into your junior and senior year, you're taking more of your chemistry classes. If you're in engineering or math, you're taking your higher level engineering and math courses. So
right.
An idea of
so just like you said, for my first 2 years, freshman, sophomore year, it was a lot of general education courses. For me, you wanted to make sure that you still got in the courses that applied towards your actual degree. So for me, what that looked like, general chemistry, the laboratory, because the laboratory is a completely separate class, and which is nice because it gives you a little bit more time to really focus on your experiments. I did biology, math, all of that stuff. And I got really lucky my freshman year for my general education English course, which was required for my degree for liberal arts at a liberal arts school. But the subject of this writing class was actually music videos. So we got to watch music videos every class, and then we would write journals, write essays about them. So even though you're at college and you're there to learn, even your general education courses can actually be really fun. It was a really cool way to get an English credit. So
there was nothing like that available when I went to college.
Yeah. Nowadays, I'm sure they have all types of stuff. I know at my school at Florida State, I went to Florida State University. They actually had a writing class about Harry Potter, I think. There's a lot of stuff out there, and if that's something you're interested in doing, it's definitely worth it. So that was kind of what my first 2 years looked like. A lot of gen ed stuff. Now, I think that my last 2 years, I was definitely able to kind of play around more, because I'd put in so much work in my first 2 years, making sure I got a bunch of these prerequisites out the way, that I had a little bit more leeway. I was getting into my major, which was more challenging but more interesting, because it was something that I wanted to do. But on the side, on my other elective courses, I took a jazz class my senior year, a jazz dance class. I love to dance, so that was a really, really great creative outlet for me. I took a golf class. FSU had their own golf course. So I took a golf class 1 year. I took a stretching and relaxation class, which was essentially yoga. And one time they had us doing coloring books one time, which was a lot of fun. It was just a nice way to relax, and get a credit for it. And I also did martial arts. I did a martial arts class, and all of these were courses that Florida State University offered. And, it's just to kind of create some spice. I took a world music class because I also love music. Definitely make sure you're intermingling those things, because it gets rough. Like,
needs to balance it out.
It gets rough. And even if you are passionate about a subject, the deeper you get into it, the deeper you dive, things just, it gets more challenging. And it's okay if it feels like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I want to do this. It's totally normal. My mother can tell you how many times I called her like, Mom, I don't know why I did this. But the thing is what challenges you, you have to go through it. And when you go through it and you get to the other side of it, I tell her all the time, it's crazy, because when I was in college, this chemistry concept seemed so challenging to me. But now that I'm out of it and I'm reflecting back, and I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense now. It's stressful in that moment because you have so much going on. You have all these courses and, coursework that you have to take care of. So it feels a lot like, I can't do this. But when you make it to the other side of it, it really is rewarding to realize how much you've learned, how much you've grown. And again, I think a way to minimize that feeling is to, make sure you're getting some fun in there. I got involved on a dance team on my college's campus as well, because I just needed something to do. Outside of your coursework, you have to have a life of your own and live it.
Two things you made me think of when you say that. I see the pearl earrings.
You did. Yeah.
Both Lauren and I are members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Yes.
So I
yes.
pearls. I have my bracelet. It's always a little something that I wear.
Always a little something.
But yeah, so, joining a sorority or some organization, it doesn't have to be a sorority or fraternity, but joining some organization, getting involved also is a good way to balance things out as well.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned that you went to Florida State. Florida State is not an HBCU.
Right.
And we all know that there is a lack of minorities, and particularly women, in the STEM careers. So in your classes, did you see many people that looked like you?
The short answer to that is no. And in terms of women in general, it was actually a pretty pretty even cut. There were typically a little bit less women in my classes, even like my large lecture classes. But even more specifically, to look around the room and see, you know, me and maybe 2, 3 other people of color, you know, that was at first a bit jarring, but then I sat and I really thought about it. I'm like, well, you know, I've gone to this, this is not an HBCU. So for me, you know, I grew up in environments where there weren't necessarily a lot of people that looked like me. But then like, the more I thought about it, I was like, you know, this might be the thing, you know? And I think a lot of that stems from, you know, just access to resources. You could go on and on about, you know, the history and all of that. But, you know, I don't want that to ever discourage any of you ladies from going into this field. And I know, you know, my mother and I have talked about how challenging it is. And I know you've probably heard it from maybe your friends or family or just, you know, TV and media in general. But if it's something that you're truly interested in, or you think you might be interested in it, go for it. You know, there's nothing wrong with being the only one in the room when you're making a path and creating a path for someone that might look like you. You never know, you know, who you're affecting, who you're influencing, who you're impacting, just by existing in a space that we rarely exist in. It's a really powerful thing, especially when you meet another person like you. Actually, at my current job, one of the associate lab directors was actually a Black woman, and she's also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So it was really nice for me to be able to see her when I went in for my first day of my interview, and automatically you just create a bond. So if this is something that you are interested in doing or think you might be, you know, just go for it. I mean, you just never know. And don't let, you know, the potential challenges discourage you. It's a challenge, of course, but there's always help. There's always resources. And,
Exactly.
you know.
And while you're on that, the other thing too I'd like for you to address with them, because I know a lot of them now are in junior high and high school.
Right.
Sometimes you know how it is, that pressure.
Right.
You're in that environment. Sometimes it's not cool to be so smart. You know,
Right.
you take the classes, the AP classes if you're in high school, or if you're in junior high, you know, honor roll classes, and sometimes you're not seeing
Right.
school. So some people it affects negatively. They try to, I guess I don't want to say dumb down a little bit, but they
They don't want their light to shine as brightly
exactly.
as it should.
So
Yeah.
what would you say? You've been through that stage a little closer
Right.
to it than I am. I'm a little far more removed. So do you want to speak to that for a few minutes?
Honestly, yes, because the best piece of advice I could give you is to do the things that make you happy. Do what makes you happy. Live your life like you're trying to make yourself happy. Because when, at the end of the day, whatever anybody else has to say, your friends, your peers, anybody else, at the end of the day, when you go home and it's just you, you have to be happy with what you see, with how you feel about yourself. And if that light, don't let anybody dim a light.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody dim your light. I will say I was very fortunate to be surrounded by a group of friends that had the same work ethic as me, that had the same ideals when it came to academia and just be like socially. And I think that also helps. Definitely surround yourself with positive people that are going to encourage you to reach your greatest potential, and that you want to encourage to reach their greatest potential too. Always, always, always keep that energy around you positive, because it can be a little bit discouraging. It can be a little bit embarrassing, like being around people that don't always have your best interest at heart. But if you're doing what makes you happy, if you're living your life like you're trying to make yourself happy, dance to the beat of your own drum. Honestly, that's what I did my entire
And I can
4 years
tell
of
you're
high
still
school,
against your own drum.
all of my, my primary education, that's what I was doing. And I think it served me well. And honestly, if we're being very honest, a lot of the people that you see in high school and middle school that were the super popular kids that weren't necessarily the nice kids, like those aren't the people that you generally hear about if they go on to college. All the people that I knew in college that were very popular and well liked were very, very smart, very intelligent, did very, very well, performed very well as students. They were involved on campus. You know, after extracurriculars, they made very, very good grades. They were very studious. I mean, they had their fun. Again, balance.
And you had your fun.
And I had my fun. So,
and that's just you.
Yeah.
So a couple of your friends are now doctors.
Doctors,
one's a lawyer.
Lawyers.
Yeah. So don't let
news anchors. Yeah. So
because they think you're not cool. So cool is smart. Cool is always smart is always cool.
Always been
Never
cool,
forget that.
and it's always gonna take you far.
Absolutely.
It'll take you as far as you allow it to go.
So let's talk. You mentioned before that you alluded to going away to school. You graduated high school in Colorado.
Yes.
And went to college in Florida State. She did not want to go to college in Colorado. I don't know why, but she wanted nothing.
True. I didn't.
So there may be some individuals, and you knew a lot of them in high school, who had not been that far away from home.
Right.
So for people who they may be getting a little uncomfortable, or the thought of leaving home to go to college and going out of state.
Right.
What do you have to say to them?
My background's a little bit different because I never really grew up around like all of my my extended family. So the idea of me picking up and moving and just going wasn't really a huge thing, but I understand that a lot of people do. And what I would say to that is I always encourage people to leave home for a bit, just to see what else is out there, to see and experience other people, to see and experience other places. You meet so many interesting people when you branch out. And after, ultimately, you may decide that, oh, no, I kind of like being home. But I think, everyone deserves a chance to explore. Yeah. And if college, it provides you that opportunity to do so in another state, or, for some people go out of the country to study. And a lot of colleges have programs like that where you can study abroad. I'd say go for it. It is scary starting over, kind of, because really you're kind of like the new kid on the block again. I felt kind of like the new kid when on my first day at Florida State, because a lot of people at Florida State, since it's a public school, a lot of people were from Florida. They maybe went to school with some of these people in high school. So they, some people had already established relationships, but I think the nice thing about that is it's kind of a clean slate. Whoever you were in high school, whoever you were in middle school, whoever that person was, in your hometown, if you're happy that person, continue to be that person and grow in her, and if there was something about yourself that maybe you weren't so happy with, guess what? Now you get a chance to reinvent her, because nobody knows who you are. And it's not pretending, it's just growing, evolving as an individual. And I think moving to another state, or going away from home for school, is a really great way for you to learn, because it's also kind of nice, because even as an adult, moving by yourself can be really scary. It's not like you have, school and classes where you're regularly seeing a bunch of people and have all these opportunities to meet new people. College is really nice because it's a semi-controlled environment where you can meet a bunch of new people and try a bunch of different things and really kind of grow from a young person to a young adult. And it would be a really hard transition to make on your own. So I think that doing the out of state thing, going away from home, even if it's, you know, in your state, but maybe a few hours away, I think it's totally worth it. I personally would always encourage it.
Okay. Well, you mentioned work, so we're going to transition there. So you
Right.
got the degree, hallelujah,
Got the degree. I
and
got it.
is job time. So
It's
you
job
land the job in New York,
New York.
in your degree. I know we can't go into a great detail about what you do with the DEA, but kind of can you give us an idea of what the company you work for, the type of stuff that they do with the DEA?
Sure. So I personally, what I help is I help the laboratory. So the laboratory analyzes drugs, narcotics, and it helps uh, attorneys and, you know, law enforcement to prosecute cases, to put people that are breaking the law with drug-related issues in jail, prison, all of that. So what I do is I actually help acquire the necessities for the laboratory and the chemist to do their job, right? So the chemist, that's where something like, if you are interested in, you know, STEM science, they would come in because they kind of get to do all this really cool stuff that really helps the world and society remain safe at large. So I think that's kind of neat. And there's a lot you can do with that. You can go a lot of ways with that.
Yeah, I was gonna mention. I know since you were a kid, one of the things you've always liked mixing stuff.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what led you to your interest in the chemistry degree.
Right.
So there are lots of other different things that you can do with the chemistry degree, because I learned this with you being in that field. I wasn't aware of all the opportunities that were available. So can you talk a little bit about the opportunities for working in the food industry, for working with makeup?
Sure. Yeah. So the nice thing about science is that science is literally everywhere. You can't avoid it. You know, even if you're just walking down the street, you know, everything is chemistry, everything is biology, everything is science. So what that means is there are a lot of opportunities for you to use a chemistry degree. You don't just have to be a chemist. You know, maybe you like makeup. I know I like makeup. That's what mom's talking about. I like makeup and I like mixing up things with cosmetics and hair care products. So with chemistry, you could go into cosmetics, you can go into hair care, you can go into food. There's a whole industry called food science, which is essentially the science of food, you know, just what it sounds like. Developing new foods, products that you see in the grocery store when you go with your parents or your friends. You could go into clothes. Textiles is another industry where science is really, really useful and helpful. Let's see. There are really a lot of things. And some industries you may not even think would use science, like let's see, even my current field right now, I do it's a lot of like budget stuff, but it's really helpful to have that background because I did a lot of math getting my degree. So it helped me kind of make that transition. It's a kind of doctor, sort of, but doctors, of course, use a lot of math and science. But I also used to work as an optician, which is essentially when you go to get your glasses, I'm the person that helps you get the measurements and pick out your frame and all of that. So you could even go into making lenses, cutting lenses for glasses. things that people don't really think about. You know, you can
think about all of that as well.
Yeah.
And we're just talking chemistry because that's what you have your degree in, but it's the same
Right.
for the engineering part. There are different levels,
Right.
different degree. We have relatives that are engineers,
Right.
engineers, and he works for chemical companies.
Right.
He can be an electrician. With math, I also have one of my best friends also majored in math, and he's a military officer, but he's used that math degree quite a bit in aerospace
Yep.
technology. So there are so many things that you can do that you don't think about, and there's
Right.
a huge shortage of people that look like us in the field, and it's a
Yes.
very lucrative field. So if you're inclined to get the degree, there's money to be made in the industry. So we encourage you to look at the STEM courses and opportunities. And I don't know, Lauren, do you have anything else? Those were most of the questions that I had for you.
Yeah.
Any last advice?
I just say embrace the challenge, you know, embrace the challenge, because it's so rewarding, you know, getting to pave the way for people that look like me coming after me. It's really nice experiencing, you know, moments with young women who, you know, when I tell them, oh yeah, I studied chemical science, they're like, really? You know, I've never really met anybody, you know, that looks like me that actually has done this, you know, successfully. And so if you can be that person, and if you want to be that person to even just one person, it can make a world of difference and change the cycle, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all just a cycle. Everything kind of comes back around. You know, I don't know who all that I've, you know, impacted, but I know there were people who impacted me to make me interested in this. For me, I think that it was scary at first. It was scary during the studies and, you know, the long nights and all of that, thinking, you know, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this. I don't know if I'm going to finish. But I think embracing the challenge and knowing that you're going to learn a lot, not just about the subject, but about yourself as well, and be able to really grow in that and have something that you really worked hard for. At the end of the day, that sense of accomplishment is irreplaceable.
Yeah.
So, you know, embrace it, love yourselves enough to know, you know, if you have to kind of switch things up, and, you know, have fun with it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're studying, you're supposed to have fun. Yeah.
Help when you need it. I think that's
Get help.
Because
Absolutely.
most people, they feel embarrassed to get help or feel like you know, like you're dumb or stupid or whatever, and that's totally not the case. You're there to learn. You're going there to learn it. You're not expected to know it. So you just treat it as that. I don't know it. I need to find out the answer to it, because I promise you, if you don't understand it, somebody else doesn't either.
Somebody else doesn't. Exactly.
So ask.
Yes. Ask questions.
Ask questions. So Lauren, thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
Yeah, you know, I'm very proud of you. So when my friend asked me, our soror asked us to do this, I was very happy to do it, and I knew that you would say yes, because I know that's the type of person you are. So I hope this information helps you ladies, and we're here if you have any more additional questions. So thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk to you tonight. All right.
Yay.
Yay.
I love you, my little STEM babies, future STEM babies. Thanks for having me.
All right.